Hi, I am talking today about the First Learning Library from Eastbourne and how I was asked how to use it for a child to teach them how to read. And the person that asked has a child that's dyslexic, like my 12-year-old. And with learning differences, things that are made to teach typical children how to read, like the My First Learning Library, like the app I'm going to talk about here in a minute, like regular reading curriculums, don't always work if you just use them the way they're intended. So the way the Eastbourne Library is intended is you teach the kids the letters at the back of the book and the letter sounds that go with it. And you can do this by using their app, which is Teacher Monsters to Read. It is also a website. The website is free. The app, however, is not. It's usually $5. When you use the app, it follows along in the same pattern, and each planet has the same letters as each set of books. So when they finish one planet, they should be able to read Planet 1, because your monster crashed a spaceship and the king of the island is going to help him put that back together. And then once he's done with that island, then you should be able to read this because it teaches you the sounds of the letters. So on Teach Your Monster to Read, it doesn't say find the letter S. It says S. It says find the letter that says S. And your child has to find it. And one of the games is like a flower with all the letters, with multiple letters, all the ones in this first book on it in a circle, and you gotta free the villager by finding all the S's. But it doesn't say find the S, it says find the S sound. And then you go to a different one and you have to do a different sound. There's aliens lifting blocks, there's a jungle that you run through. There's different games all throughout. It has multiple different games. It really keeps the kids engaged and they really like it. My 12-year-old still sometimes plays it, and I have her redo her login information so that she can start at the beginning, because it does work up to competent readers. However, with a dyslexic child, that's not going to work and stick, at least not with my dyslexic child. And my son, who has ADHD and dyslexia, but I didn't know he had dyslexia when I did it, actually taught me the best way to teach kids with dyslexia after I learned more about how their brains work. And with dyslexic kids, you have to add in motion. You have to add in a way for them to physically feel and put something with that letter. So with my son, I got lily pad letters, which they were in the shape of a lily pad. I got them at Lakeshore years ago. I mean, he's 13 now, so this was years ago. And I haven't seen them since, so I don't know. I think they were for a bulletin board. Maybe I'm just not looking at the right time of year. But I got a pack of the letters, and I would throw the letters out all over my floor because I had a room that we did school in. It was supposed to be a living room, but we had another living room area, so I made that my school room. And I would throw those letters out. And when he was learning just his sounds, we would jump from letter to letter finding the sounds. And so he would sound them out. I'd say jump to the letter that A, and he would jump to that. If I knew what I knew now about letter sounds and how much easier it is for them to just learn the sound with the letter and whatever the name of the letter, I would have done that. But I didn't at the time. I didn't know the science behind it, and I had been taught the letters, names, and their sounds, and that's how I was taught. So that's how I taught him. And so he would do that, and then he'd have to tell me the sound of the letter. And we watched Letter Factory, and we watched Alpha Buddies, and we watched all these letter videos that told him what the sounds were. So he watched TV in his fun time, because in my kids' fun time when they were that little, I didn't give them fun TV so much. I gave them stuff that was educational. So they watched Disney Junior, PBS Kids. Mainly at that point, they were watching Nick Jr. and PBS Kids. And I think mostly it was PBS Kids at the time, because they were watching a lot of, or DVDs I had, because I had Letter Factory and the Alpha Buddies and DVD. And then they would watch different shows that talked about letters and things from PBS. But that's how he learned his letter sounds, was through videos and through processing that. With my daughter, she's more severely dyslexic. She's not as severe as she could be. She will be reading, hopefully, at grade level one day. She's not currently at grade level. But even if she doesn't read at grade level, she is reading, which severe dyslexics do not ever really learn to read. And I don't know if it's because they were not taught correctly, or if their brains just can't hold that information. I don't have the research on that one. When I do have it, I will come back and share it. But she isn't so severe that she will not ever read. She is going to read, and she does read at a 4th grade level now. But she still loves these books and still reads them too, because an easy book that she doesn't have to think about, that doesn't hurt her brain, because 4th grade books are a lot of work for her to read. That is her reading level for teaching. It's not her reading level for fun. But then once they learn the letter sounds, you come back, because they've learned their letter sounds, and it tells you, what if my child gets stuck? Don't simply read the word yourself. Prompt them to try it again and to come to the right answer together. So like if they can't read tap, and they're like my daughter, she would say app. She'd say app, because she would miss the first sound. Even though she'd sounded it out, it was gone. So then I would go back and say app, and then remind her to read all of it, and then have her say it after me. And having her hear me sound it out helped her. But it does make it, and if they don't get it, so that's okay. We can try again later. Take a break. Don't make them feel bad about it. I made that mistake when we were first learning, and I didn't know about dyslexia. She knew the letter sound of C the day before, because we worked on it for a whole week at a time. And one day, she did not know what the sound C made. And I yelled. I told her, you just did it yesterday. You had it perfectly yesterday. You know what C says. And I was upset, and I got frustrated, and she started crying, because she is very sensitive, even if I didn't raise my voice, which I didn't that day. And I sent her to her bed to take a nap, because she could not read that letter sound. And I later learned that she really couldn't read that letter sound. She also has auditory processing, which means that her file box in her head, we have, like, if you say, what's a lamp? You automatically see the picture of a fixture that holds a light bulb, that has a shade on it. Lamp. You ask her what is a lamp, and she doesn't see the picture. She doesn't know what a lamp is. If you ask her to go turn on the lamp, she will go and turn on the lamp, because you put an action to it, and she knows what that action is. Even though you haven't changed what a lamp is, you haven't described it to her, she gets it. But outside of a context of a sentence, she doesn't. So that is where her loss of the letter C sound came from, was her auditory processing. She wasn't there that day. She was tired and needed a nap. But she also just couldn't remember it. And I've run into that a lot with her in math and history and science and different things too. And I found that putting it to physical action, like making the letters with Play-Doh, drawing the letters in beans, anything tactile, pulling the letters down with magnets, all of that has helped her tremendously when teaching her how to read. The other thing that is really great about these books is that children's beginning reader books are usually boring. They are so dry, because how many times can rat sit on a mat in every book you've ever read? It's boring. And when we got these for her, she was in second grade. She knew her letter sounds and stuff, but she was too old really to read Cat Sat on a Mat. Did we do some of that? Yes. But with these ones, the great thing is they have an adult side where you read it, and then they have a kid side. And with that, you get words like, the night was cold, the sky was black, the window rattled. And then the child reads, tap, tap, tap. So you get more of a story behind it, and it gives you that. The other thing I really like that has helped is that most kids with dyslexia, my daughter is an exception, and the only reason I can think she is an exception is because we've read to her forever. I've read to her, her sisters have read to her, her father's read to her, her brother's read to her. She's been read to. And we don't read books straight like I just did to you. So we read books like, the night was cold, the sky was black, the window rattled, tap, tap, tap. Who could be at the door? Look at the picture. Who do you think that is? What is going on? Do they look scared or happy? Oh, do you think they look scared or surprised? Surprised? Okay. And what does that person look like in the corner? You can see the shadow. Do you think he looks friendly or mean? And we read stories like that. And then we keep reading, and as we go on, we find out who it is and we talk about who it is. So I think that is why she has such good reading comprehension. All of my kids really do. But for kids that don't come by it naturally, or for parents that are not able to come up with questions in the story and interact like that, because I know it's not natural for everyone, and it's really weird that I do it according to the people I've talked to. So if it's not natural for you, the back of the book has reading comprehension puzzles. I don't let my daughter write in these so that she can do it over and over and over again. And then it has like, choose the right words. Who is this puppy? It has Sam and Sad. So which one is he? What describes this puppy? And so they have to pick the words that match. And then this last one got wrote in. So they had to find words that rhyme. So it works on all of that, and different puzzles and different books for different things. So match the speech bubble to the picture. Choose the right word to complete the sentence. And it just has different puzzles for each book. and you say whether they're true or false. So different puzzles for different books for different kids, and it gives you a different way of looking at the books. And I still, even though we do all the things I do with reading with my kids, I still read those questions to her and have her answer them and try the puzzles at the back of the book because it helps. I will link some reading resources and another reading curriculum that works on letter sounds that's free under this video. And I will definitely link the game because the game is lots of fun, and even your beginning readers or not even there yet readers can play it and practice and see. And then also your more dedicated readers. So the third section, the second section of the sets of books come and look like this once they start reading a little bit more independently. And it is independent reading from the second section of books on, but they are still a story. Like this is King Midas, and it doesn't make it super boring. Like the story, like, how can I make it stop, said King Midas. There is a secret river in the hills, said the god. And it has like different, it's not like as dynamic a story as it could be, but it is getting there, and it's interesting. So it's not so boring. And then the third set of books is like this, the Genie in the Bottle. This is a story about a fisherman, a bottle, and a big bad genie. And it gets a little bit more in depth. And the game is the same way. It has 3 levels. The first level goes with the green books. The second level goes with the orange books. And the third level goes with the more able to read independently or companion reading books. So that you're there. And this one, like, the fisherman thought fast. You were inside this bottle, he asked. Yes, snapped the genie. So see, it's getting a little bit more in depth, and it has more words on the page, and it gives you a little bit more thought in the books as you go along. Reading is hard. And for the kids that it doesn't come naturally to, it's a lot of work. And for the parents that want to homeschool their kids and teach them how to read, and they have a child like that, it's a lot of trial and error and finding what works. There are a couple of curriculums made specifically for kids with dyslexia. And another thing that has helped as my daughter has got older is she's taken some classes on structured word inquiry where they teach you to break apart the words into what their actual meanings were and why those words are the way they are from their Greek and Latin roots. And it is very helpful because then when they hear the sounds that go with those words, like unicycle, una, or uni, when they hear that, they're like, oh, that means one. And they remember what that part is spelled like, so they can sound it out and figure it out. And they would learn what cycle is and break that apart as well. And why it's spelled the way it is and why it works the way does and all of that. And as she's got older, structured word inquiry has been better for her to add in that more structured things, but using the Orton Gilliam based stuff and the constant repetition and practice and working with her on her letter sounds and being very movement based, including with the gaming apps and all of that, has helped her so much. Definitely, any child that's learning how to read, whether they have ADHD, dyslexia, or not, can learn to read with movement. The kids that do have dyslexia and dysgraphia and ADHD, movement becomes imperative. It helps them process the words. It helps them remember the shapes of the letters. Getting Play-Doh cards and making the shapes of the letters with the Play-Doh. Forming them with your hands. Holding them in your hands. Feeling it, touching it, exploring it. Physical movement that puts your brain into motion, like the tapping out the sounds and swiping, like I said with at swiping. Physically jumping to letters, running to the wall and finding the words. All of those things added into any curriculum that you use, no matter what, will help your child learn how to read if they have learning differences. It is 110% harder to teach my dyslexic child than it is to teach any of my other children. But she is the one determined to do big things, and she's determined to learn how to read. So I continue daily to teach her. And she will do big things because she's determined. And when your child's determined to read, they can pick up a book and go anywhere with it. All they have to do is want to. And have a parent that's willing to find a way to help them. Usborne gave my daughter the confidence she needed, because by the time we got there in second grade to where we were actually ready to sound out words, she was not confident that she could do it. She was confident she couldn't. She knew she could not read. She knew that it wasn't going to happen. She had given up faith in herself. And these books and the time that we spent with them gave her that confidence back. If you have a dyslexic child, or a child with ADHD, or a child that's struggling to find the joy in reading, even if they're struggling and they're having a hard time reading the words, read to them anyway and make time, because if they lose that love of the story, then it is really hard to get it back. And it's a fight. And it's difficult. And it's not fun, especially if you want to raise readers. Okay, I've taken up almost 30 minutes of your time. And this isn't even my one that's about teaching kids to read in other ways. So I will be adding some pictures of different ways of reading and teaching reading down below. There was another book that really helped with the dysgraphia part of dyslexia, and I can't find it. I don't own it anymore, and it's not from Usborne. If I find it, I will share it, but it was a letter poem book about the shapes. And I can't find it. But it was also very helpful. But Usborne has many beginning reader books. They have the Cat and Cat Ran and Cat Sat on a Mat books, which have their time and place. They have these early readers, and they have early readers for science and history too. They're a little bit more difficult than the beginning readers from here. They're more like the beginning readers from the third set of third color from the pinkish purple. And they have a few other books that are beginning readers. And they change out pretty regularly what they have, and they come out with new stuff to help teach. And it's really, really useful. But I am not one to use just one thing for my learners. So I will share also extra links, not just from Usborne, but you will get Usborne links as well for the stuff that I use to teach my kids to read, because they learn very eclectically with lots of different things. Because I am one to teach my children from all angles, from games, from video games to board games, to hands-on things that I find for free, to paying for books that I want them to read and think that they should hear, and books that I've read to them. I don't have a go-to curriculum for kindergarten, but I will put some links for things that I have absolutely loved in teaching kindergarten and first grade with readers, because kindergarten and first grade kind of go hand in hand for us. And second grade kind of went with kindergarten for my last one. But I will make the links for all that, for all the things that I love for that age group for learning. But yeah, Usborne helped us a very long with our reading, and have an amazing setup if you want to follow it to teach your kids how to read. And if they're dyslexic, you just need to add in a lot of motion and a lot of movement and a lot of hands-on activities, because your kid's going to need it.